Hey guys, my name is Hadrien and this is Vincent. We are the co-developers behind STABL, and we are really happy to introduce you Variable, our first product. It is an exchange for on-chain derivatives. So first, some words about STABL, the company. And our mission, we aim to operate derivative markets on the blockchain and to develop an ecosystem of traders and users that will benefit from these new financial products. So we will be releasing two main products. The first one is Variable, aims for traders that will benefit from new financial products, so derivative products. And the other one that will be launched later is called STABL, and it will be basically a marketplace for stable tokens. So Variable, it is, as I said, an exchange for on-chain derivative products. And it is actually a semi-decentralized exchange. Vincent will explain what it means. So about what is a derivative product. It is actually a zero-sum game contract between traders. So on what we will call the primary market, traders are offered position in contracts. The outcome of this contract depends on a market event that will happen in the future. For instance, we can think about the Ether price in USD. And whenever two traders agree, they are matched together and a contract is created. And each trader gets a position in this contract. Once they have these positions, they are able to sell them on what we call the secondary market. So this is a marketplace where you can sell your position in these types of contracts. And that's it. So Variable aims to do that on the blockchain for several reasons. We think that the Ethereum technology and its smart contracts is super interesting for this market. Indeed, we can bridge the gap between the primary market and the secondary market, because for us, creating a new contract or transferring an asset is one transaction in Ethereum. And it is the same order of magnitude, both in cost and rapidity. So the other really interesting thing that we use is the ability to tokenize these positions. By tokenizing the position, it is really easy when you created a contract on the primary market to then sell it on the secondary market, such as decentralized exchanges, because this position will be compliant with the ERC20 standard. And on top of that, you could do more stuff with these tokens. You could use them in some dApps. You can think about Gnosis, I think. And you can also use them to create new derivatives on top of them. So it is something that we are exploring and that seems pretty interesting. So now let's talk about the first product we will release in less than a month. They are really simple but robust, and the aim is to hear feedback from traders and to improve them as much as we can following this feedback. So this contract will be around the Ether price, so in USD for now. And basically, we will offer a long position and a short position. So a shorter will bet on an increase in the Ether price, and the shorter will bet on the Ether. Will bet that the Ether price will decrease. So our product will be symmetrical in the USD leverage. It will have a fixed duration. The position will not be tradable yet, and we will have liquidation prices. So what does it mean, a symmetrical USD leverage? That means that the product that has two parties, let's say a product of leverage 4, if the Ether price does plus 10%, then it means that the shorter will lose 40% of its value, and the longer will earn 40%. The position will not be tradable. We have made the choice not to tokenize, even if we could. We have made the choice not to tokenize yet the positions, because we first want to understand better the leverages and the pairs that are interesting for traders. So you will not be able to access secondary markets with these kind of products. You will have to wait till the end of the contract to get your payout. The duration is fixed. And the duration is fixed, and you have liquidation prices. Indeed, for instance, for the leverage 4, if the Ether price has plus 25%, that means that the shorter has basically lost everything. So you need to liquidate the price before maturity. So now let's take an example of the contract we have already deployed. This is a simple one. So the pair is ETH against USD. The leverage is 4, and the duration is 14 days. So how it is created, you have somebody that wants to long with a leverage of 4 on ETH, and he wants to long, for instance, 40 ETH, and you have a longer on the other side that wants shorter, that wants to short for 24 ETH at the same leverage of 4. This creates a match between these two traders, and a contract is created, and the total amount of 64 ETH is blocked in the contract. So then how these contracts are liquidated? The first case is when we reach maturity, so after 14 days in this case. Let's say that initially the Ether price was $10, now it is $12. So we have seen an increase of 20%. The shorter will get back 4 ETH, that correspond to $48. Its initial deposit was $200, and this is a decrease in value of 80%. On the other side, the longer had put 40 Ether for $400, and now he gets back 60 ETH that are worth $720, and this is an increase of 80%. So you see the symmetrical USD leverages. I've taken $12, but it works for any dollars inside the price range that we have defined previously. So here, for instance, if we reach the liquidation price of $12.5, so an increase of $25, of 25%, we need to liquidate the contract, and we will give everything to the longer, and the short has lost everything.
Okay, so now that we have explained you what our product is, and we hope that you understood it, I'm going to explain you how we build it, how it works. So to build our product, we had to build two parts that can be seen roughly as independent and that are connected by a single point, by a single transaction. The first part that we had to build is the marketplace itself, the place where the orders will be matched, where longers will be matched with shorters, depending on their leverages. So that's roughly an order book and a matching process. And the second part we built is what occurs once we have a match, once we have a pair of actors that are willing to contract together. And this is what we built with a factory and the standardized derivative contracts that will be created once we have the match. So let me first focus on the order book itself. So we tried to build something that is as similar as possible to classical exchange for fiat or for cryptos or for any type of assets. So we have an offer book and a demand book. This is typical. What we have also, which is quite typical, is that orders are sorted by price, with the less expensive above and it increases by cost. What's maybe more original here, and which is related to the type of position we open, is the fact that our prices are labeled as percentage. This percentage represents the premium cost. That means the amount that you will have to send additionally to your position cost that will make your position either more expensive or less expensive. For instance, if you are willing to open a position of 40 Ether with 1% premium cost, you will have to pay 40.4 Ether to open the position. Similarly, if the cost was minus 1% for 40 Ether, you would only pay 39.6. So that's the order book. And the way we devised it, and to the best of my knowledge, it is something that is new on the blockchain, is that we wanted it to be fully fledged in terms of experience. We didn't want it to build something that is just an OTC exchange. And to the best of our knowledge, we are the first to propose an exchange where the UX can be that you input the total quantity you want to buy, you input the maximum price you are ready to pay, you just click, and we are going to to assign you potentially several orders at once. And to the best of our knowledge, currently on the blockchain, you are able to pick orders one by one. And if you want to open a large order, you'll have to perform several actions. And to build that was challenging, because with the blockchain itself, with the fact that the blockchain is pretty bad as computation, or is pretty limited, doing all the matching process, the sorting and the updating of an order book database on the blockchain only would be too costly, too challenging, or it would even not work. So what we do, and this is why Hadrien called it a semi-decentralized exchange, is that we have a centralized part off-chain on our server that will do the matching job, that will sort order, that will select the right orders for you. And once we have done the selection, the matching, we will send only the right orders selection to the blockchain, and the blockchain will only perform the verification part and the subsequent stages. As an example, you can see our dispatch order function. This is the function that is called by the user once he sends an order. And this function gets some input that are arrays of indexes of orders and quantities. This is something we compute on our server. We give to the user, to the client, and the client uses that as input to the MetaMask function. So let me now show you the whole process before we demo UX and UI. The first step is two users that want to place order. One is a longer, the other is a shorter. They get matched in the order book. The order book, once it has a match, it calls a factory. The factory then creates a derivative contract, a specific derivative contract for those two traders. And this contract will hold the value of the position for the whole duration. It will be watched by an off-chain process, similar to an oracle. This off-chain process, if it needs, it will call the contract earlier to liquidate it, or it will call it at maturity. And the contract, the derivative contract itself, will verify the liquidation condition. And if it's sound, it will issue payouts to the users. So let us now demo through a short video or UX and UI.
So here you can see. It should work.
It's working.
It was working?
Yeah, it moves.
Okay. We can. I'm not sure how to do it.
So Hadrien will show you the process to create an order.
Okay, so here we are on the short position of leverage 4. And we can see that the order book and the offer book is already filled by somebody had put positions. So here we're going to try to create a new order. So we're going to make market. So we have chosen a quantity. We have chosen a quantity of 1.3. And we want the premium to be minus 3.1. That means that we want to pay less than the initial position value. So here we send to the server what we want. The server sends us back the info so that we can make the transaction. We broadcast the transaction to the blockchain, and it is mined. And we have seen that on the daemon book, our orders has been added. And now we will showcase how to take orders. So we will try to take an order of 1.5 ETH, so create a short of 1.5 on the leverage 4. And you can see in the offer book that the cheapest order is less than 1.5 ETH. That means that we're going to take this order fully, and that we're going to take the next lowest, cheapest order partially. So now we do the same process. We send it to our server. It sends back the information we need to create the transaction. We broadcast the transaction to the blockchain, and once it's mined, you should see that the order has been fully taken, and that here you have two contracts, so the two derivative contracts. The total amount is 1.5, and you have the shorter position on these two contracts.
So those two contracts that you have seen us create in the video are one of the very first derivative contract created on a blockchain. Actually, it was yet not on a public blockchain, but on a private testnet, and we'll soon do that on the mainnet. I don't have the time to announce all the details today, but we are proud to announce a virtual trading challenge, which will be an experiment that we'll do in line with the best practice of experimental economics. There'll be incentives and so on, and we'll invite up to 150 participants to play with our product for 6 weeks and win up to 750 ethers in total prizes. More about this next week on Reddit and Twitter. Thank you very much.